But first tonight, if you don't bet on horse races, odds are you don't think much about Western Regional Off-Track Betting, or OTB. But it does matter whether you're a gambler or not, because it's owned by our local municipalities and the money it generates comes back to help fund our local governments. We've reported for years about questionable spending at the OTB and the multiple investigations from the state comptroller to the FBI. Tonight, the president and CEO of OTB is here live to answer tough questions and fill you in about what's happening with your money. First, a little bit of background on this. There are almost 36 places where you can wager OTB. Many are easy bet locations inside places like bars and bowling alleys, but 10 are OTB branches, the largest of which is Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. Again, this public benefit corporation is owned by you, specifically the county governments that are highlighted there in green, including 6 in our immediate area, plus the cities of Buffalo and Rochester. Profits from OTB go to those 17 municipalities. So this is very much about taxpayer money. And joining us live is Henry Wojtaszek, President and CEO of Western Regional OTB. I know you've wanted to push back on some of the negative reporting that's been out there and answer some questions, so we appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you having me here. Thanks for the opportunity.
So first off, I want to ask you about the health benefits for your board members. As you know, this has been a source of controversy for a long time. I'm sure you'd acknowledge the plan is very generous. They pay nothing out of pocket for health, vision, and dental, even though they basically meet a couple of days a month. There was a 2008 opinion from the Attorney General at the time that said OTB should not be providing this health insurance. I know your attorneys have given you a different opinion. I think the bottom line here is that 99% of our viewers don't have insurance that's this good at their full-time jobs. So why continue to offer this for people who, you know, are just working a couple of days a week?
Again, you mentioned it, that there is conflicting opinion. There are conflicting opinions out there. You know, there is an opinion directly on point 2 OTBs that they can have insurance for the board members. There's one just a little bit later that did conflict with that. We've had conflicting opinions that we've paid for privately. The most recent one we have is one from Terry Connors here in Western New York, who's a great attorney here in Western New York, and it basically talks about being in such a competitive industry. We have 10 casinos within 100 miles. It's a competitive industry, and in those industries where it's competitive, the board members are allowed to craft a benefit package that is commensurate with the industry that they're involved in. I mean, our industry, our specific place, Batavia Downs, we handle hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We have some excellent board members on it that come from a lot of different areas within different corporations. They do a great job. We have never seen the kind of record revenue, record attendance that we've had in the last couple of years. We believe, again, it's a board decision, but I can tell you right now they do a great job, and the benefit package is certainly not something that has been decided. If it was decided, we'd certainly be following whatever rule that a court handed down. Anything that's out there right now is just simply an opinion.
I looked through the minutes of your past 12 monthly meetings. The board usually meets, I think always, back-to-back days, right? Like maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday.
That's correct.
You have committee meetings one day and then the board meeting the next day. But all of those, with a couple of exceptions, only lasted like 30 minutes, those actual board meetings. Seems like an expensive way of running things, and it seems like there's like one day of work per month from these board members, and yet they're getting this just incredibly generous health care package. So again, I think for people watching, just kind of scratch their head and wonder why so generous.
I mean, that's not all they do. They clearly have a major role to play within our corporation. Again, we are hundreds of million dollars of a corporation that returned $5 million, a record number last year, and is scheduled to return probably double that this year. So people vote with their feet, they vote with their money, and they're saying right now that they like coming out to Batavia Downs. We run a first-class operation, a professional operation. The board members are much more active than just showing up 1 or 2 days a week. They're active all week long. I was just at a conference with 5 of them just in the past couple days. They're very active, they're very smart, they provide great guidance to us at Batavia Downs, and again, I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say. The corporation's never been run better. We've never had more people come to our place. The attendance is up, and record revenues, and I mean record revenues by far, is what we're delivering to these municipalities, which is our aim. It's our goal. It's what it's why we exist.
One quick follow-up to that before I move on. You had said previously that you would ask the Attorney General to issue a ruling about these health care benefits or an opinion specifically about Western Regional OTB. Forget all the other OTBs. Did you ever get that?
I did not, and the reason we didn't is because the opinion that we got from our local attorney is that it's not the Attorney General's call on even opining on this subject, it's the comptroller. And then we realized we have conflicting opinions from the comptroller, and so the most recent information we have is that it is certainly not a foregone conclusion that this is a question that is out there. Our attorney right now has been negotiating with the Attorney General's office because it is their bailiwick to look at this issue now. And so we're right in the middle of it. We're trying to do the right thing, and we will do the right thing. As I said, ultimately, if there's a ruling, we're certainly going to follow it.
So something will follow there. Of course, what you're going on now is from the attorney who you hired to tell you, how this should play out, right?
We hired an
You
attorney
paid Terry Connors to give you the opinion that says you can continue doing this.
Well, we paid him to give us we paid him to give us his best opinion relative to this topic.
The other thing that's come out over the past year or so was this audit from the state comptroller's office looking at tickets to events at places like the Bills Stadium, KeyBank Center for Sabres games and concerts and other things. The comptroller was pretty critical of the organization in the audit. I know you responded to it. Have you made changes as a result of that in terms of bookkeeping so that we know it isn't board members and their family members and their friends going and spending a bunch of money and getting free food and free tickets? I mean, for the amount of time that was in the audit that was looked at, it was more than $1 million in these kind of perks. Has anything changed since the audit?
Great question, Michael. It absolutely has. Now, don't forget, we asked the comptroller to come in. It was our letter to them. We asked them to come in. We wanted them to give us good advice. They gave us good advice. We followed it. Most of the things that they had recommended, we had already taken care of. So most of these things were taken care of in 2019. I think the comptroller's opinion came out sometime in 2021. A couple specific things. The record keeping was poor. We certainly have done a much better job of keeping records. Previously, it was somebody from our organization, whether it was an employee, a board member, an officer, would go and they would have a guest going with them to entertain and to recruit people to come and frequent our establishment. We hired a compliance group headed by a former FBI agent, and his recommendation was to just have one person who's a host to make sure everything's in order there. We followed his advice. That's what we do now. There's one host for every game, whether it's a concert, a Bills game, Sabres, whatever the case may be. We feel like we're fully in compliance with the recommendations of the comptroller's office.
I want to ask you a question about transparency. As you know, there's been kind of this back and forth recently between you and the Erie County comptroller, who has asked for a series of records requests, sent you some letters, and you kind of responded saying this isn't your job and said he could foil the information and get it. Of course, Erie County is one of the owners of the OTB. I know Erie County has a member on your board, and that's an avenue through which you can get information. But do you think that it would be helpful in this kind of grand conversation about how OTB is run if it were more transparent with the public?
We are extremely transparent. Anybody who wants any document that we have, foil it, we'll give it to you. We've given it to everybody who's asked for it. We have complied with every single request from the Gaming Commission, from the Attorney General's office, from the comptroller's office. So we are as transparent as you can get. What I will not do is give out internal business information to somebody who's not in our governance structure. Clearly, the comptroller of Erie County has an interest. First of all, just to correct you, Michael, they're not owners of Western Region Off-Track Betting. They, under the statute, have the ability to have a member of the board of directors. It is a separate company. It's a public benefit corporation. We want to obviously be partners with the 15 counties and the 2 cities. Again, we are doing our part by returning record revenues to them, which is why we exist, as I said before. Relative to transparency, we are extremely transparent. Any of the questions, most of the questions that he's asked for, he can find on the website for lobbyists. We'll provide him with information regarding our attorneys. Any document that we have that somebody wants, we will give to them. What we won't do is give out our business strategies.
Henry Wojtaszek is president and CEO of Western Regional Off-Track Betting. Again, this has been so much in the news lately, and I know that it's complex for our viewers who are watching right now. We really appreciate you coming in and taking the questions. And on that issue of transparency, you didn't have to do the interview, so thanks for coming in and doing it.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.